Everybody, so I thought I would do another video on the initial consultation. I did one that I put on Instagram recently, and I can't work out for the life of me how to get it and put it on YouTube. I think I need some help with this stuff, so I thought I'd do another one for you. So what is the initial consultation all about? I think last time how I started it, and I think it's the right way to do it, is actually start with what it's not about, because it's very different from some other therapies. Now, therapy is really personal to the individual, and what I would never do is discredit or judge another style of therapy, because different therapies are right for different people, and some people benefit hugely from one thing that just isn't right for another. So you have to find what works for you. That's really important. Why I love solution-focused hypnotherapy and what got me into it personally is that it's so positive. So actually what you don't need to do in the initial consultation, which is that first chat that we should have before we actually begin the hypnotherapy sessions, what you don't need to do is worry that you've got to come to me and relive and tell me all about something that's upsetting you, or a big fear that you've got, or problems with confidence and why, and these awful situations you got yourself into. As you learn more about hypnotherapy, you will realise that that is not necessary, and it's not necessary because what we focus on is your preferred state, your preferred future. Because when we focus on these positive things, not the negative things, we start to feel better, and I will explain to you why that happens. Which parts of the brain are we influencing? Which parts of the brain are we starting to work from that help us focus on these positives? And they can be really small to begin with. When we're not used to doing something, any change is going to feel difficult. It's a bit like, I often use the analogy of maybe if you like skiing and you were at the top of a ski slope and you're looking around and you want to go in a certain direction, but there is no worn path, and so you just take one small step and you start to dig this groove going in a certain direction, and then it snows and the groove gets filled in. So we keep going and we keep going, and more people use that path, and you keep using that path more and more and more and more, and slowly it becomes a well-structured, bedded-in route that everybody can use and see very clearly. It's kind of similar to what we're doing in solution-focused hypnotherapy with focusing on new positives. We are creating these new neural pathways that after a time when we keep using them, it just becomes natural to us. But to begin with, it can feel hard if we're not used to doing things that way. Your emotional brain will fight it, you know. I can explain all of this to you. So that's just something in terms of hopefully reassuring you about what you don't need to do. Often a client, when I say to them, how am I going to help you? We can't help it, and some clients give me a big background into something that they're really struggling with. If you want to give me detailed background and you feel that for you need to get a few things off your chest to give me this context, then of course that's absolutely fine. But I'm not going to then use that as a focus moving forwards. So just so that you're clear. What else we cover in the initial consultation is it is useful for both of us to understand ultimately what your goal is. What would you like to use as an indicator that you didn't need to see me anymore? And then I'm going to ask you a few questions initially about your current family setup, a few questions about if you have any siblings or who you brought up by. I ask these because during our therapy sessions, I would be absolutely mortified if I offended you by mentioning, let's say, a certain role in the family that I just assume is a good experience for you, or was a good experience for you. So again, let me give you an example. If we were working something through and I said to you, well, of course you would have experienced this when you sat around the table, perhaps at weekends with your mum and dad, and then unbeknown to me, actually that isn't something that's a nice experience or a nice memory for you because of different reasons. So I will ask you who you raised by. Do you have any siblings? Where in the family do you sit? Do you have any children? What are their ages? It all actually helps me build a picture of your current setup. Then I need to just ask a few questions about if you've got any phobias, how your sleep is doing, if you're taking any medication at the moment. That's important for me to know. We can work really nicely alongside not only other therapies, but if I need to be in contact with your GP, again, to reassure them of what I'm doing and how that can work alongside medication, then that's absolutely fine, and that's why I need to ask those questions. There are some medical scenarios that hypnotherapy isn't recommended for, depending on what you might be experiencing, but we can discuss that and make sure that I am comfortable working with you and vice versa. And then we can just make sure that you understand moving forwards how the hypnotherapy sessions will be structured and what to expect on your first session. We don't do any relaxation in that initial consultation. When you leave that consultation, I will then send you a copy of my MP3 recording, and I'll ask you to get started on listening to that as often as possible. Why? Is because then a week later, by the time you have your first session and we do relaxation together, your brain will recognise the words, it will recognise what it's expected to do, it can switch off, it can relax, it doesn't need to go into fight or flight because it's something different, and you will find the relaxation element of our session incredible. You will be able to go very deeply and very quickly into relaxation because it's not something new. So your brain isn't going to go, oh, what is this? And start to go into any kind of panic. It's not going to fight it. So I hope that explains what the initial consultation is. If you do have any questions, of course, and any concerns or any worries, then please let me know. Also, after the initial consultation, you are not under any obligation to continue. If you want to have a chat, and then you think it's not for you, or actually the initial consultation in itself has answered a lot of questions and has reassured you, then great, I've done my job, I've helped you. So either way, if you think that you would be interested in having this initial consultation, this chat with me, then get in touch. All my details are on my website. You can text me, email me, call me, whatever works best for you, and we can set up a time that works well for you in your schedule. So I look forward to hearing from you.